Good morning, grade 11s. This is Mr. Jans van Rensburg here. I hope you're all safe and well. This week we are going to focus on exchange rates and measuring volume. For today, the 4th of May, we'll look at exchange rates and general terminology regarding that, do some examples, some conversions, and then I will leave you to do the exercises for today. Right, so I am on page 1 of your Moodle notes at the moment. In your answer series textbooks, this is on page 89 and 90. Right, so what is an exchange rate? An exchange rate is basically the price or rate of exchange of one country's currency in terms of another country's currency. If you look at this example exchange rate, let's say $1 is the equivalent of 15 Rand. So typically in South African markets, you'll see on the exchange that the unit currency is always the other country's currency. This will be on the left side of the ratio, and then on the right side you will have the multiple currency. In the South African market, this will usually be the amount of rands we have to give up for another country's currency. So in this example, the rate is 15. I need to give up 15 Rand in order to gain $1. This is the more direct way of quoting the price of currency in the domestic market. If I were to convert that to the indirect way of quoting the currency, I would just divide the unit currency by the multiple 15, and that would give me 0.0667, which is the same, or rounded off to 7 American cents. 1 Rand equals 7 American cents. So both of these examples is in actual fact the same exchange rate. It's just a different way of quoting the price. Typically we will be using this one, the more direct way. Okay. So if you go to page 2 of your Moodle notes, let's take a look at weak currencies versus strong currencies. So a country's currency is weak when there is a low demand for that country's currency. So a weak currency is a currency that is going down in value. So how will this work? How will you identify when a country's currency is weakening? Remember that the currency's value is fluctuating all the time. Markets are changing all the time. The demand for currency is always changing the time. So there are various factors that affect the value of a currency, but basically, when a country's currency devaluates or depreciates for the economic students, or decreases in value, there is a lower demand for that country's domestic currency. So sometimes you can buy more with a certain amount of currency, and sometimes you can buy less. If you needed 100 bills to buy a gold coin yesterday, but today you need 110 bills, it means that that country's currency is weakening. In other words, when you have to give up more units of a currency to gain another, we say that that currency is decreasing in value. Countries with a weak economy tend to have weaker currencies. Right, if you look at the example, when we look at an exchange rate, and when we identify whether or not it is decreasing or increasing value, here are some things we'll look at. So just back with my previous example of $1 equals 15 Rand. Let's say this was in January 2020. Some months have passed, and now we have to give up 17 Rand in order to gain $1. When I need to give up more rands to gain $1, this means that the rand is weakening. Particularly the rand is weakening. If you have to give up more rands to gain $1, the rand is decreasing value. However, the dollar is increasing in value in this example. whichever currency is decreasing value, the other currency will be increasing in value. Right, so when I look at a stronger currency, or a strengthening of a currency, for the economic students, that would be a currency that appreciates. A strong currency is a currency that is going up in value. Again, the value of currencies fluctuate all the time, so you will have increasing and decreasing values over a period of time. In this example, if you needed 110 bills to buy a gold coin yesterday, but today you need 100 bills, the currency is strengthening or appreciating. In other words, if you have to give up less of one country's currency to gain another country's currency, your currency is strengthening in value. A country with a strong economy tends to have strong currency. Highly industrialized countries like the UK, Canada, America usually have stronger currencies because they are highly industrialized, therefore importing. They would like to have a higher importing power in the world to manufacture goods inside their own domestic economies. Right. Also take note that the fact that currency's value is relative to the value that it has in a domestic economy. Right, the cost of living will be different from different countries. So for example, although it costs 12 Rand 7 cents for a dollar, let's say in April 2018, it costs an average 40 Rand for a Big Mac in South Africa, but $4.62 in America. If you were to multiply $4.62 with 12 Rand 7 cents, that would give you a much larger number. So relative to America, if you compare South Africa to America, the cost of living is higher when you look at the price of other goods in their economy in terms of rands. Another example, the average price for a 3-bedroom house in South Africa is 1.2 million Rand, whereas it's $115,000 in America, making it relatively more expensive to live in America if you were to multiply that with the exchange rate. Same goes for your salaries and income. The average salary for a high school teacher is 186,068 Rand per year. But in America, it's $58,310 per year. So before we move on to your exercises, I'd just like you to take a look at the following examples. When it comes to converting, let's just do that, converting currencies to other currencies. So you'll find worked examples in your answer series textbooks on page 89 as well. I just got this example. Let's just use the same exchange rate. Let's say it is 15 Rand for $1. I have 14,350 Rand spending money that I'm taking with me to America. How much spending money will that give me in terms of dollars? Right, so I want to convert Rand to dollar. So if I'm going to take Rand to dollar, how would I do this? Remember that the dollar is the unit currency in this example, and the rate is 15, which is the multiple currency. So in order to go from Rand to dollar, I will divide by the rate, which is in fact 15. So I'm going to take 14,000 Rand, so 14,350 Rand, divide that by the rate of 15, and that would give me the amount of dollars. Right, so let's type that into the calculator. 14,350 divided by 15 equals, just put it here, $956 recurring. So let's just round it off. $956 to 2 decimal places because we're working with money. 67 cents. So just to reiterate, when I'm going from rands to dollars, in other words, I want to convert the amount of rands I have to dollars, I will divide by the rate. Okay, so in other words, I need to divide by the multiple. Take the amount of rands and divide it by the multiple currency. Another example, let's say I'm coming back from this trip and I have $50 left after the trip, and let's just assume the exchange rate remains 15 Rand. I have $50 left after the trip. How many rands will I get back after this? So now I'm converting dollars to rands. And remember that the unit currency again is $1 equals the multiple of 15 Rand. So if I'm going to dollars to Rand, multiply with the rate. Multiply with the rate. So therefore, $50 times 15 will give me the amount of rands I will get back. So $50 times 15, that gives me the equivalent of $750. Sorry, 750 Rand. Okay, just to recap there, going from rands to dollars, I will divide by the rate when the unit currency is $1 and the multiple currency is rands. When I'm going from dollars to rands, I will multiply with the rate in the case that the dollar is the unit currency and the rand is the multiple. Right, so now I'm going to leave you to do the exercises for today. This is on page 90 in your answer series textbooks. Do the questions for the test your understanding exercise, and then the platinum exercise, for which you don't have the book. This is uploaded onto Moodle and Teams. And tomorrow, the 5th of May, we will take a look at the exchange rate worksheet. Okay guys, I'll leave you to practice, and thank you for your time. See you tomorrow.